I put a little bit of water in it and glycol just to see how it was, and I noted that it was leaking from the water pump, so that's going to have to be replaced, which means I'm going to take the radiator out anyway and either replace it and service it. It's really easy to do. There's 4 little bolts here. I've already undone them. It only has 2 hoses, one here at the bottom, one here at the top. And once you undo the 2 bolts on each side, undo the hoses, it lifts away very easily. And there you go. And so I probably will get a new one rather than servicing this one. Get a good reproduction, maybe even one that has a stenciling on the top that says "Don't scald yourself." But easy to do, and then you have easy access to the water pump. If you really want to get in there and pull the engine, the front cowling here with the grill will come off if you pull the front bumpers, and then you of course have just a wide open mouth that lets you get in there and get at things. I may or may not do that. I'm certainly going to be taking off most of these pieces and refinishing it all. So we're going to pull the thermostat cover because it looks pretty rotten, as they often are. And we're also going to pull the water pump off this old Morris because we know that it's leaking. It's an easier job to do with the radiator out. You can do it with the radiator in, but it's tight and you're probably going to smack against some of the fins with the fan. Notice it's got that little 2-bladed fan there. And the one good thing about that, it's probably not as prone to breaking as some of the old metal 4-bladed ones that you'd find on, for instance, on an MGA or something. In fact, if I had the metal ones, the original ones, I would replace them because the blades do break off them and end up going through your bonnet or something. Whereas the plastic ones, you're never going to have that problem. They're a little bit more efficient. But this Morris one is a 2-bladed fan, and so we're just going to pull the fan blades off first, and then we'll loosen the dynamo up. So the fan blade has 4 7/16 bolts here, and that you should simply undo those, and the 2 things are going to come off then. One is a plate that's in front of the fan, and then the fan blades itself. Let's do that. Okay, so that's pretty easy, and there are the 2 pieces. You want to hold on to those. These look to be in good shape. You see, there's really no kind of a seam or anything like that these things can fly apart. So it looks like it could clean up. If I have any doubts about it, I'll replace it. Now, next thing is I'm just going to loosen up the dynamo a little bit so I can pull off this hub here. So to pull the fan belt off, you just want to loosen the dynamo. It has 3 bolts on it, and you don't have to take them out all the way. You just have to slacken them enough to take the tension off the belt, and then go ahead and remove the belt. You can see that easy peasy, and then the belt is nice and loose, and you can get rid of it. We're of course just going to discard this old belt, right? So it's going the way of all things. And typically when you look, you'll see on these older ones, you can see the cracking. You can't see it from the outside, but that's a belt just ready to fail. So don't even fool around. These are cheap. Just replace. Now, if you're lucky, the hub will just pull right free from the water pump. Sometimes they are kind of corroded on there, and you have to use a bit of wood and a hammer from the back. But this one just came right off, so it was no problem. And you can see that the water pump had just basically dissolved there. Okay, so there are 4 bolts that hold the water pump onto the block here. And obviously to undo this one, you've got to get the dynamo up and out of the way. If this comes free easily, we might be able to do it without having to take the complete dynamo out. If not, you're going to have to take the dynamo out, hammer on the back of here with a bit of wood to free it up. We'll see. I'm going to end up having to take the whole thing out. Also, hidden underneath here is you do have a very short section of water hose. This is not the original Morris kind. The Morris kind has ridges on it. You can see there's a kind of a mixture of vintage patinaed hardware and some new kind of pipe fittings on there. Obviously that's going to disappear and we're going to get a new one. And then there is the water pipe here, which is already undone from the radiator. This is the original kind. This would be for the heater. The heater was blocked off, although there is one in the car, and they used the tried and true method of putting an old bolt in there and tightening it up. You know, we will be getting the heater back functional, and there will be a copper tube that comes out of here. But right now, the main thing is we want to get these two pieces off. So that's what we're going to work on and see if we can do it without having to remove the dynamo. We'll find out. So these bolts that are securing the water pump onto the block, they're 1/2 inch, and they can be sometimes really tough to get off. No problem on this one. I think all of these are going to come off pretty easily. And but as I said, for this one, you've got to swing the dynamo up a little bit so you can get your socket in there. Now here's something to take note of when you're taking out the bolts that hold the water pump on. The two on this side of the engine here are longer than the two that are in against close to the dynamo. So just remember that you have two different size bolts that are holding that in, and try to keep that in mind when you get new bolts, new hardware to put it back together. Okay, I've left the dynamo on because I do want to see if the car runs. Eventually I'll take it off and service it and rebuild it, but I want to see if the car runs. So I took it off, and you can move the ear away enough to get a hammer in behind here and gently tap on the back of the pump, and you can see it's moving off of the moving off the flange, and now we're getting water coming out. So it's free, and I should be able to pull it off. I pulled the spark plug out of the front cylinder just so I wouldn't accidentally hit it or cause any damage. So we should be able to now just pull this thing off pretty easily. Okay, and there we go. So off it comes, no problem. Dynamo's still there, just slacken things off to move it aside. And the old water pump is out. And you can see it's pretty grotty looking. It definitely had failed, and new ones are inexpensive. There's that little pipe that I talked about, hose. That's the wrong kind. It'll be replaced, and I just loosened it up and it just pulled away from the head. So no problem doing that, and we'll have to clean up the facing and all that, and of course new gaskets, and put the new water pump in when we get ready to try the engine out.